Welcome to the Mental Performance Playbook brought to you by the Athlete's Health. If you are new here, we are a mental performance training and tracking service with some software to help out athletes perform at their best with that confidence, handle pressure, or the coaches, the programs, the parents, and support them along the way too. The Mental Performance Playbook here, we are breaking down elite mental strategies and delivering them in actionable exercises. Now, yes, I understand this is a new setup behind us. This is a whole new area. We are located out in Utah right now, but we do a lot of work back in Iowa, and we still do. If you are watching this, check it out, the video. If you're only listening, come check out the video and let us know what else we need to throw back here. You can see a picture frame that's going to go up on the wall. A bookshelf is coming to show all of our books, lay them out. This is going to be the studio, the office for TAH, Top Athlete Habits, the Athlete's Health. With that said, with this move and with some of the training that we are doing out here with teams comes the topic of today of that top individual identity and just how important it is to have, to know, to hone and implement. And so that is what we're going to do here in this episode. And specifically in this episode today, we are going to break down an actual session that we do with a team to set them up for success. This identity piece, we are going to implement it here. So if you're listening, use it. But let's get into this. Before we do, if you like this, share it with someone. Make sure to give it that follow, that 5-star, that subscribe on YouTube, and share this with someone who should listen to it. All that said, let's start. First off, we need to make sure we know how to get into that identity before we actually start labeling and naming and programming out our identity. So what does that look like? Well, I am fortunate enough to be able to work with part-time, just here and there with a very prominent sports psychologist. We'll leave this undisclosed for now of who exactly it is, but I've learned a ton through it. And one thing that we were just talking about, especially in this identity piece, is how to flip this on, how to implement this, how to use this when we need to. So hear this out. What she told me and what we implement now is this BBM. So if you've been around TAH, you know of our Adele framework, our resets, whether you're doing something, you're saying something, you're seeing something to help reset. This is another piece of that where BBM stands for body, breath, and mind. And what we are going to hone in is that breath piece. But I want to make sure we know how to implement all that before we get into these identity pieces. Because this identity is who we are going to come back to when those moments are hard, because this is going to happen. And we need to make sure we can hone this in those hard moments, those training sessions, whenever else, to make sure we stick it through and perform at our peak with all that confidence that we know we can have, but don't always have. So body, nice and tall, head over shoulders, over chest, holding that powerful pose, right? You think someone powerful, that's what we want to be positioning ourselves in right away. Breath. This can be many different types of breathing, that box breathing that everyone knows of breathing in, holding, exhale, holding 4 seconds each. What I'm going to bring in for this one, for our specific breathing for you to use, for helping out the athletes, if you're the parent or the coach or the program director, bring this down into your athletes or bring us in to help train your program. But this triangle breath, nose, corners of your mouth. This one, actually, I did get this from Brian Kane. Nose, corners of your mouth. When we take those breaths, just whenever you're breathing right now, you're breathing, focusing on that nose, corner of your mouth. This is a triangle breath. A lot of our athletes have been using this recently. So use this, implement it. If we're not going to do the triangle breath, or if we want to double down and implement this even more specifically and hone in our specific traits that we're trying to do, if we are trying to get more energized, get our temp heated up more, exhale quickly. Inhale regular, exhale quickly. If we're trying to calm ourselves down a little bit, we are getting heated and we know we got to cool it down. Inhale a little longer and then exhale. Inhale, then exhale. All right. Mind, That's what we're going to get into next. That is our identity piece to set ourselves up for success. There's a lot of other pieces that we can throw into that mind, but I wanted us to start with that BBM, specifically that breath and how we're going to implement that breath. So let's get into this now of setting the stage for the identity. And I want us to first and foremost implement this piece of knowing we are not reinventing the wheel here. Chances are your athlete is not the first athlete to go through with many of their strengths. If you look at sports these days, there's similarities. Ultimately, one of the biggest separators is how much work they put in and what ultimately stems from up here. So there are people that they can model. And with those people that they can model, they can pull in those best traits and they can understand why they are modeling them. And this is the second piece that we're working on today after that breath to switch us into that state. What state are we switching into? What is that actual identity? Ooh, just lowered the camera angle down some. I like it. What traits are included in that actual identity? You know, if you look at Messi, he never really freaks out. He's calm. That's a pretty good trait. He is collective. He always gets himself back up. I'm recording this on Sunday after the FIFA World Cup when they lost, unfortunately. But those were his traits. No matter what happened, his other teammates would get the yellow cards, but he kept it cool. You can model this, and we can model this in any specific athlete, any specific trait it is. But get a list of traits going here. Let me see if I can pull something up here super fast. Traits: discipline, communication, deliberate practice, poise, composure, relentlessness, focus, a never say die attitude. This list can go on and on and on and on, but these are traits that we can hone in, and we're actually going to come back to those words. But make a list of 3 to 5, maybe at least 3 heroes that you could pull identity traits from. Yes, this can be athletes and players, but this can also be parents. This can be coaches. This can be a teacher that we had, someone that we just hear about on TV or on podcasts. Pull their traits and hone them in and make sure that those traits are some of the identity pieces that we are implementing and using. Because once again, we don't have to reinvent that wheel, but what we have to do is hone in the wheels that we have and the traits that we are implementing to hone in that identity. So as the season comes up, or if you just had a tougher baseball, softball season, as they come down, we can dive into our traits for that identity and stay true to our workouts, to our training to give ourselves the best chance of success. So list them out, list why it's them, and what traits we are taking away from them. Because that's going to now tie into the second piece, third piece, because the breath was our first piece that we are going to train in here right now and hone in and use. And this is now for ourselves. Maybe it's matching, maybe it's seeing, okay, I analyze those traits. Those are what I really like. Let's look at what we have and what we got going on. So let's do this. What traits do we have going on? If we need a starting point for this, you yourself, or if you're working with an athlete, think about a time when you had that dub, that win. Oh, and it was a good one too. Like set up for success, but there's hardships faced, but you somehow trooped through it and set up for success. Yes, if you're a coach or parent, think back to you in this position, and then you can relay it back to your athletes to a greater degree. So think back to one of these positions. Now, as we do that, look into what actual traits or values, even attitudes were needed to pull out that dub, right? And I'm sure, and label this too, what challenges were we facing? So right now we have the big win, the hardships along the way to get that win, those challenges we overcame, and the values, the traits, the attitudes that were needed to go through that. Because you did this, or you can think back to one of your athletes and they did this. Now we can hone those in. Those are part of our identity because we can know that that's what we do to make the outcome, the win happen. And now, hear this one out. We're tying that into those heroes, those mentors that we are listing down, and the biggest traits that they have that make up their identity. Now we put that together and we put this into one last piece for this third part of this training session, free exercises on a mental performance playbook of a time that we have used these or any others that we're still going to come up with for other people in a crazy way, in a hard way, in a way that really stands out when we're thinking about it. Because if we can lock that down and lock that in for when we helped others win too, especially on our team, those type of people, we are setting ourselves up for that top tier identity and top tier traits to dial in, to eat up when those times are tougher, because those times are coming. It's not a if they're going to come, it's a when they are going to come. So as we move into this next week at TAH in Mental Performance Playbook, breaking down these top athlete habits, let's make sure that we can get ourselves into our top tier identity, but making sure that we know what that top tier identity is. And that ultimately starts, if we're going to go reverse order here, with ourselves, knowing those big win moments, what we did to make it happen, what roadblocks were there, what we had to overcome, how we did that, the attitudes along the way. Hopefully your brain is just going right now, not only for ourselves, but for other teammates too, because that's ultimately when we can really challenge ourselves to help them out, to then ultimately help ourselves out in those hard pieces. There were traits along all those times. Those are pieces that we can hone in and train up. Now, not only that, but we can then look at, okay, who are we trying to be? Where are we trying to get? What are we trying to emulate with those heroes, those mentors? Why are they ones that we are listening, that we are thinking about right now, that we are trying to train up in the next training session? What traits do they have? And then how do we make that happen? That BBM. Body up nice and tall, stack it, get yourself ready, that power position. Breath, we went through a few different ones. Hopefully you can think about what they were. Hopefully you can remember. To give you some ideas, it was that triangle. It was something about breathing out, something about breathing in. Go back, listen if you need to. And then that mind, that mental game. How do we lock in, handle that performance? Catch us next week on TAH Mental Performance Playbook here. We will start to have guest episodes going again sometime in the near future, but we will keep releasing these weekly episodes. And if you found this valuable, once again, share this with someone who should see it, help out some more athletes. My name is Gabe Rummel, founder of TAH, creator of this Mental Performance Playbook, our Phenoic Gym, breaking down these mental strategies and having trackable training so we can all improve that confidence, handle pressure, and level up our performance. I will catch you next week. Peace. Oh, I'm back. Comment. Let us know. How should we deck out this studio? We have a few different ways, few different ideas, and we will be slowly doing it as we release these episodes.